And welcome back. If you remember in the last video, we installed the oil catch can that went on the passenger side valve cover. And this is what they call the overflow oil catch can, which gets installed on the driver's side. Now, depending on how you're driving your vehicle, you may not even need the overflow catch can. And it even does actually state this on this website, on their website, when you go to order this. Now, if you remember in the last video, the issue we ran into is that even though this was ordered for a HellCat, I shouldn't say 2019 specifically, but it was ordered for a HellCat / Demon, that this kit, it does include the fitting that we were talking about in the last video, needed because the valve that this interconnects into on the typical installs, the canister would set here, and this hose you see coming off the valve cover here actually comes into a valve that's located here on the driver's side. And in the installed videos and typical setups, they don't have an open air box like this, and that valve that you're tying into is actually over here, mounted near where the air box connection goes into the throttle body. Now, we don't have that, which means the hoses we have in the kit are longer than what we need, and it makes this a little bit more complicated because this hose is literally right here in the way of where this catch can would mount to this little lip right here. There's a lip here, and there's a little screw hole in here that you'll put the screw through to mount into the catch can to hold it in place. And it looks like this would still work because we do have the fitting that we need that mimics this post coming out of this valve cover that this factory hose would plug into. But the issue that we're going to have is that we're going to have to cut the lines that came with the kit because we need much shorter lines. Now it looks like there is a pretty good cavity of space behind here that we may be able to manipulate the hosing and kind of get it in, but it's going to be a bit of an awkward fit from what I can see, because again, this hose gets retained, gets an adapter put into it. This gets pulled off, you put an adapter to it, has a hose that then plugs into it and goes into the catch can, and the other side of the catch can comes with its adapter, just like on the passenger side, that then clicks in place of where this factory hose plugs in. But you have to keep this hose in this case because you'll see a little sensor in here that's monitoring it's monitoring it's obviously going to be some type of airflow, but whether it's a certain type of airflow or a certain type of pressure or exactly what it's monitoring, I'm not entirely sure, but that sensor has to be retained. So we can't really shorten this factory hose, nor would we want to. So this is going to be interesting. If I can't figure out a good way to get this to fit where it looks good, I may just forego putting the catch can on this side, because it is, again, what they consider an overflow catch can and may not actually be needed in all applications. But I'm going to get this factory hose off of here, which you can see where it kind of plugs in the valve cover. Just like on the passenger side, it just has a little plastic catch that you have to push out on, and then you can lift this connector off of this valve cover. And then we'll see, once we get it free from there and free from here, how much play we have in this hose. And once we get that off of there, I'll bring you back. And welcome back. I'll show you what we've done thus far. It's not tight in there yet, but we just went ahead and mounted our catch can here so we can kind of see our clearances. And hopefully you can see that down in there. But you can see here, this is the factory hose that normally plugs in a valve cover. And just like in the video that covers the use of these hoses that have these sensors, these end pieces do have enough play in them that you can twist them and kind of change their direction. So rather than being downward where it would plug in the valve cover, we found that we can kind of turn it at 90 degrees and just kind of push it back here inside this cavity a little bit, And then what we're going to do based on the trajectory of these hose fittings in relation to where they need to route, we ended up cutting 2 pieces of hose off one of the lines that came with the factory kit. Because you remember the factory kit came with 2 lengthy hoses, because again they're anticipating you having to hook into the valve and that hose, that factory hose, that would normally be here, but in our case again it's back here. We end up cutting 2 pieces. This piece here and this smaller piece here, which pretty much plugs straight into the adapter. So what's going to happen with this one, this is the piece that mimics your factory valve cover. We just went ahead and attached the hose to it. This is going to go into the factory hose and then go straight into the catch can. And again, because of the location of everything, this ended up being about a 2.5-inch piece. That is all we needed to plug into the factory hose and then go into the catch can. And this longer piece here, again, that we trimmed down from the hose that came with it, this is going to be the one that goes down in through here, connects to this side of the catch can, gives us a nice like little lazy loop around inside of this area where we have like a little cubby bit of space here to play with, and it will go on to the adapter that goes onto the valve cover. So it'll go from adapter and the valve cover in and around, and on this side of the catch can. And on this side of the catch can, we're going to use that fitting that came with the kit and that little 2.5-inch piece of hose to kind of go here. And this piece of hose, if I remember correctly, I'm going to say this came in right at, sorry for the camera work here, guys. I just set you down and measure this. So you're going to get a little bit of staring at the mini split, because I can't hold the camera and measure this hose at the same time. So this is about a 13-inch piece of tubing. So 13-inch piece on one side of the catch can, and at that 2.5-inch piece for the other side of the catch can. So I'm going to go get these fitted in place. Again, I'm going to leave the catch can loose, so we've got the ability to kind of shift it from side to side if needed, and then we'll get it all fitted and we'll bring you back. I wanted to bring you back real quick before we put these hoses on, just to show you that yes, we did redo this piece just so we can put the end pieces on it. And as you can see, a 2.5-inch piece of hose leaves you just enough room to get the end caps on the hose. Not that it's needed, but you know, it did come with the braided hose. It does a nice job of dressing it up. But also, to make one comment, because I do plan on sending the link to this video to Billet so they can see it. They did comment on my email and told me that yes, the correct adapter came with the kit, but they didn't necessarily comment on the, you know, how best to handle this with having to shorten the hoses. But as you can see, that's the factory one there. Here's the catch can right next to it. I'm thinking that if there's a way to have the oil catch can have this replacement piece that was milled to look like the factory valve cover, that's going to plug into here and then go into the catch can, that if the catch can could just have this end changed where it would be possible to have this type of end piece on it, then this factory hose would just be able to plug straight into the catch can. It's kind of a thought, you know, if it could be done, it would be a nice little modification for other individuals who have HellCats that may run into this particular problem with the overflow can. But again, we'll get these hoses on and we'll bring you back. And welcome back. We've got the can installed. I just want to go over, kind of show you what we've done. And yes, the supervisor has come out to inspect the work as per usual. And as you can see, what we have going on back here is that we've got the adapter for the valve cover in, we've got the catch can plumbed up at this point. You can see that that's the adapter and that's the factory hose literally clipping right into it with just that little 2.5-inch piece. So it lines up you know, quite well. And the 13-inch piece, again, You may not be able to see it too well, but it just kind of goes in by the cavity, makes a nice long U-shaped bend, comes over to the other side of the catch can. And we did install the catch can and kind of push it to the driver's side just to give us a little extra clearance with the dress-up cover that goes over the valve cover. And it fits in there, like I said, quite nicely. So again, it was a 2.5-inch piece of hose on this side, if I remember correctly, and a 13-inch piece of hose that went on this side. So this side again loops around, goes in the adapter, plugs in the valve cover, and the other side of the catch can, you take your valve cover simulator. That little billet piece plugs into the factory hose, a little 2.5-inch section of hose into the other side of the catch can. And I do have the bottom of the catch can uninstalled at this point, just to show you that when you're tightening the Allen screw that goes up through the bottom of the mounting hole and goes into the catch can, there it is right there. With the bottom of the catch can installed, if you got a nice long Allen wrench like I do here, you've got plenty of swing that you can get in there and kind of pull it and tighten that up without fighting with a bunch of stuff. So just take the bottom of the little catch can off, and it makes that a lot easier. But we're going to get the bottom of the catch can installed and get our valve cover, dress-up cover back on. And it does fit. Just to show you here, you kind of have to finagle it a little bit. So take your valve cover, at least for this install, kind of goes in at an angle. Let it drop down in place. Now you'll see this little hose that's kind of clipped to the side of this air box. I found it easy just to kind of pull that hose out of the way, let the cover fall into place, clip it on the fuel line in the back, and then the two little notches on the front. And as you can see, it doesn't get in the way of the hardware that we've got going on back there, because it got a pretty nice big cutout here. And then we can just put our oil fill cap back in. And it is easier to get this out with that piece out of there. And just to show you here that you can still slide, although it would be easier, you'll notice I have to kind of go at a pretty good angle with the valve cover in there. But if you remove your oil fill cap, just be careful not to drop any dirt in it, that you don't have to go as much of an angle. You can kind of keep it nice and not exactly straight, but you got enough room in there now that you can kind of drop it over here on this side next to your plumbing and go straight in, and then just screw it back into the bottom of your catch can. There we go. It does clear, it doesn't hit the valve cover where it's saying. It also does not appear to be hitting any other plumbing, any other wiring harnesses. So it worked out quite well. Again, this was a modification of the kit, and I'll send Billet Technologies a link to this video. Maybe it'll help them kind of maybe rethink this connection side of the catch can here, at least for models in which your valve is back here and has that factory hose that you need to tie into, but it also has that sensor here that you need to keep. And like I said, you can see here it's not binding, none of the hoses are touching, nothing's rubbing up underneath here in this little cubby hole, so I think that'll work out quite well. And I'll chat at you later, but thanks for watching.